Hi guys, welcome back to Eye of the Beholder, where we review the Dungeon & Dragon miniatures created by WOTC and WizKids in the 20-year time frame between 2003 and 2023. I apologize for the delay on this video. We had a bit of an equipment failure at my end, and it took someone way better with computers to fix it. That being said, let's pick up with a review of the Monstrosity minis, covering the letter C. Here we go! The Carrion Crawler is an original monster from the OG 1977 Monster Manual and the go-to wandering monster for every early DM. Natural scavengers who are not above supplementing their diet with live prey, which they catch by striking them with their tentacles, which can cause paralysis. Fun fact, the brain fluid of a Carrion Crawler can be used to create a paralytic poison. Our first Carrion Crawler comes in WOTC's second set, 2003's Dragon Eye, and, even for an early mini, it's pretty underwhelming. The pose is pedestrian, and the smaller, large base WOTC used in the early days does it no favors either. We do get a nice set of chompers sent against the green-on-green body, plus a bit of a rock outcropping on the base for variety. Score: Paint 12, Pose 10, Playability 7, Pizzazz 8, for a score of 37. Things get better with WOTC's next offering. From 2007's Night Below set, this one is called a Trained Carrion Crawler, which I guess is evidenced by the brown leather harness attached to its upper back. Much better detail than the last one, particularly the scaling on the back and the white tips of the many legs. Better detailing on the tentacles and face as well. I especially like the curved mandibles flanking the tooth-filled maw. Score: Paint 16, Pose 15, Playability 15, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 62. Sometimes Carrion Crawlers get big. From 2008's Against the Giants set, we get this aptly named Enormous Carrion Crawler. Monochrome green for the body with a lighter dark wash for detailing. I do wish we got a bit of color variation on the tentacle tips. Its size really lets the foot claws, mandibles, and especially the teeth pop. Due to its size, playability might be a bit limited, but if you need a wandering monster for a mid to high level party, here's your guy. Score: Paint 14, Pose 18, Playability 13, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 61. WizKids goes with a different color palette with their inaugural Carrion Crawler from 2015's Rage of Demons set. Here, we get a cream-colored body with a brown stripe down the back, which matches the head and leg tips. Posed raised up high with tentacles fully extended and ready to strike. Also, rather than a full set of teeth that the WOTC version sports, WizKids goes with a more sucker-like mouth. Score: Paint 14, Pose 15, Playability 13, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 56. Six years later, we get our final Carrion Crawler in 2021's Boneyard set, and it's the best of the bunch. I really like the two-tone body, primarily tan with dark brown striping along its entire back. WOTC also makes great use of the clear base to show the details of its creamy underbelly. Each face tentacle seems to be writhing independently, with an open mouth in the center, waiting to be fed. Also, this Carrion Crawler has the largest set of eyes of all of our creatures. Score: Paint 22, Pose 17, Playability 18, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 77. But wait, there's more. The Carrion Stalker may be a cousin of the Carrion Crawler. Both have multiple legs and paralytic tentacles. We get our only Carrion Stalker Mini in 2022's Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft set, and it looks like a horseshoe crab, but with purple tentacles. Playability depends on how much time your PCs spend around graveyards. These critters embed themselves in the dead flesh of corpses. Score: Paint 12, Pose 12, Playability 12, Pizzazz 10, for a score of 46.
The Catoblepus is one strange critter, with the face of a demented warhog, the body of a water buffalo, the legs of a hippo, and the clubbed tail of an ankylosaurus. It primarily hangs out in swamps eating greens and the occasional carrion, but does venture out during full moons to hunt for fresher meat. Due to their extremely foul odor, most creatures possessing a nose can avoid them when they're out on the hunt. Fun fact, their gaze can rot the flesh of any creature caught in it.
Did I mention that the inspiration for the Catoblepus is Greek mythology? Which is why this one, from 2020's Mythic Odyssey of Theros set, looks nothing like the D&D version. That being said, it's really cool looking, with a grayish body with both brown stripes and spots, along with a huge black mane running both over its back and between its forelegs. Also, note the translucent vapor emanating from its mouth. Again, cool effect, but I don't know what it is. Score: Paint 23, Pose 16, Playability 10, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 74. Okay, this is what a Catoblepus is supposed to look like. From 2022's Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse set, this miniature is a perfect match to the 5th edition art, the brown fur, the gray underbelly ending in the clubbed tail, and especially the gruesome visage. Posed with tail raised and ready to strike, the raised head, not an easy feat for a Catoblepus, with sideways turn indicates something has caught its interest. For that sake, hope that whatever it is doesn't look back. Score: Paint 25, Pose 20, Playability 25, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 93.
The cave fisher was another OG beastie from the 70s that was another wandering monster staple, or more accurately, ambusher. Looking like a pale scorpion, as its name suggests, it hunts by firing a string of sticky spider silk, then reeling in its prey for feeding. Fun fact, almost every part of a cave fisher's body is usable. The meat is edible, the scales make excellent armor, and the blood and eggs are highly intoxicating, especially for dwarves.
I really wish we got more than one cave fisher in the 20 years we cover, but at least this one from 2019's Volo and Mordenkainen's Foes set is a common, so it should be easy to get a bunch. Dirty white is it for coloring, but if you look really closely, you can see 6 black dots on the face simulating eyes. Pose is what you'd expect for an ambush predator, low to the ground, pincers up and open, with its forked tail raised. Score: Paint 11, Pose 13, Playability 16, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 53.
Like the Catoblepus, the centaur is another creature inspired by Greek mythology. Centaurs are half horse, half humans, living in harmony with nature in forest and grassland environments. A proud race, they generally live in small bands of hunter-gatherers. They do get along well with elves, but don't like humans or dwarves much. They won't attack them on sight, but try not to annoy them, and whatever you do, do not let them get drunk.
Story time. I was first introduced to WOTC's miniatures when I attended a game convention in Anaheim, California back in 2003. Originally, WOTC had a full game system built around these minis, and at the WOTC booth they were playing all comers to introduce the game. Well, I picked my warband out of the available minis they had laid out, and promptly got my ass kicked by the demonstrator, whose warband was led by this centaur. I ended up buying a couple starter boxes and a few booster boxes, and 20 plus years later, here we are. Fun fact, this mini was the last one I needed to complete my Harbinger set, one of my first eBay acquisitions. Score: Paint 13, Pose 13, Playability 12, Pizzazz 25 on the Nostalgia, for a score of 63. In 2005, we get this Centaur Hero Mini in the Death Knell set, defiantly striking a heroic pose as he rears up on his hind legs, pointing towards his enemy with his right hand while brandishing a wavy longsword in his right. The piebald coloring of his lower body is a nice change of pace, with an upper body decked out in brown leather armor. Quite probably my favorite Centaur Mini. Score: Paint 25, Pose 23, Playability 20, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 93. Or maybe this one is. From 2006's Blood War set, we get the Centaur Warhulk. The pose captures him in full charge, galloping toward his target with his torso leaning slightly into the charge, eyes locked onto his foe. He is armed with an unusual quad-bladed glaive and armored in plate that covers his torso and body, with a green skirt covering the back legs, conveniently with a hole to allow the brown-colored tail, which matches his hair, to fly freely. Score: Paint 20, Pose 25, Playability 20, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 95. WOTC gives us their first Centaur in 2016's Monster Menagerie set, and, while it's fine, it doesn't quite compare to the WOTC versions. The clear stand does give us a pose that captures it fully rearing up on its hind legs, give the impression that it's about to strike down upon a fallen foe before it, its spear held in both hands, pointed down. Coloring is a muddy brown for the body, with gray for the tails and forelocks for contrast, but the coloring does make detailing tough to make out. Score: Paint 13, Pose 20, Playability 18, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 67. Meet the Druid of the Old Ways. From 2018's Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica set, I guess centaurs are smaller in Ravnica. Despite its size, it's very cool, from the top of his mohawk hairdo to the bottom of his hooves. Again, posed with a clear stand to allow it to rear up. Its gray body is painted with swirling green designs on the hindquarters, while it brandishes a staff that appears to be top of the dragon's skull. I like it, just wish it was a large. Score: Paint 19, Pose 20, Playability 14, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 71. Our final Centaur Mini, called a Centaur Ranger, comes from 2021's Mythic Odyssey of Theros set, and like in Ravnica, centaurs are medium-sized in Theros. Poses if well, posing. He stands tall with bare chest thrust out, spear held aloft, and black hair flowing freely behind him. No armor for this guy. His well-defined brown torso melds into a slightly browner lower back, decorated with blue designs on the back and flank. Score: Paint 16, Pose 14, Playability 12, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 55.
Where would D&D be without Greek mythology? And one of its fiercest monsters was the Chimera, a three-headed amalgam of dragon, lion, and goat. They generally take on the draconic nature and live alone, but sometimes the lion or goat take precedent, and you'll find them in small groups, prides or herds if you will. They can also kill you in a myriad of ways: a gore from the goat's horns, tooth and fangs from the lion's side, or just via the dragon's breath weapon.
Our first Chimera comes from 2006's War Drum set, and it's a solid initial offering. In this case, the dragon's head is black, so expect an acid breath weapon, and it's flanked by the goat and lion's heads. The body itself is tawny fur, with the exception of the black dragon scales running down the torso, as well as the tail and wings. Pose captures it rearing up to attack, lion claws bared while the dragon's head rises high to spit its deadly acid. Score: Paint 15, Pose 17, Playability 15, Pizzazz 17, for a score of 64. Three years later, we get this Bone Chill Chimera in 2009's Monster Manual Dangerous Delve set. Here, the dragon head is white, which I'm certain is where the Bone Chill name comes from. The lion's head is in the center, with the body mostly that of a lion, morphing into a white dragon for the back, tails, and wings. The only goat we get is the head. Here, Pose has it crouched low, all three mouths agape as it roars, screeches, and bleats its challenge. Score: Paint 16, Pose 16, Playability 18, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 69. We get our first WizKids Chimera in 2015's Elemental Evil set, which, thanks to its long stand, towers above most minis. Captured in mid-flight, this is our first Chimera to feature a male lion's head, complete with mane. Again, black is the dragon's head, matching the black of the goats. This is our first book correct mini, with the forequarters of a lion, the hindquarters of a goat, and wings and tails of a dragon. It's very cool and eminently playable. Just use caution as you move it about the playmat. Score: Paint 19, Pose 25, Playability 22, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 91. Of course, we get a Chimera in 2020's Mythic Odyssey of Theros set, and of course, it doesn't jibe with your standard D&D Chimera. Here, the heads are male lion, but with goat horns, a unicorn, and an eagle, with the only hint of a dragon in the green tail. Other than the tail, the wings, body, and heads are all white. Also captured in mid-flight with wings fully outstretched, it doesn't stand nearly as high as its predecessor, but the base is far more stable. Playability is tricky outside of Theros. I suppose you can use it as a variant if the PCs ever get blasé about fighting chimeras. Score: Paint 15, Pose 20, Playability 14, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 68. WizKids absolutely nails it on their final Chimera. From 2023's Sand and Stone set, this is our only Chimera with a red dragon's head, with matching red dragon wings and tail. The center head is a nicely rendered male dragon, and the goat's head is our best detailed one to date. Body is again creature correct with the lion-goat hybrid, and again, all three mouths are agape as it stands solidly on all four legs, wings outstretched and tail whipping to the rear, ready to take on all comers. Seriously, what's not to like about this miniature? 100.
Shatteens are strange humanoid spider hybrids found in the Underdark. A compromise between the human and spider side gives it 6 limbs, 2 legs, and 4 arms, but most of the rest of the features and abilities are pure spider, including the faceted eyes, mandibles, and most importantly, the ability to spin webs. Like most Underdark races, they have been subjected to slavery from the Drow, and they hate them because of it.
Our first Chatine comes from WOTC's second set, 2003's Dragon Eye. Although hard to see, it is clad in black scale armor with the only hint of skin color being the gray of his hands and face. Posed crouch in what to me is a defensive posture, he holds daggers in 3 of his 4 hands while his gaze locks on his target. Despite the crouch, it stands slightly taller, slightly higher than the Chatines to come, so maybe use it as a leader of a Chatine band. Score: Paint 11, Pose 14, Playability 13, Pizzazz 12, for a score of 50. It takes WizKids 16 years to give us their first Chatine. From 2019's Volo and Mordenkainen's Foes set, this one is a bit more animated than the WOTC version, as it holds 1 dagger to the fore with a second dagger ready to strike. Its 2 upper arms seem to be really long for the creature's size, particularly because they are fully outstretched. Clad only in a brown loincloth, we get a clear view of the 6 eyes in the head, below its long black hair. But wait, you say, there are 2 Chatines here. Yes, Mordenkainen really seems to like them. This one is from 2022's Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse set. I'm putting them together because they are basically the same: gray body, brown loincloth, 6 eyes, 2 daggers. Score for both: Paint 13, Pose 15, Playability 14, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 55.
Chatine communities are led by the Choldrith, a similar but different race than the Chatine. Choldriths are far more spider-like, with 8 legs, the abdomen of a spider, and a venomous bite. They are also clerics with a full complement of spells, and think nothing of using their Chatine followers as meat shields while it bombards the party with magic. Fun fact, like Driders, it is rumored that Choldriths are created by Loth herself.
Our only Choldrith miniature also comes from 2019's Volo and Mordenkainen's Foes set, and it's properly terrifying. While it has the head and face of a Chatine, the rest is pure spider. WizKids uses a very small, hard-to-see plastic stand to allow the mini to perch on the tip of its spider legs, giving it an ominous presence. You can just imagine how quickly it can skitter toward the PCs, firing spells, webs, and venom as it comes. Other than the wholly unnecessary dagger it holds, the mini is monochrome gray with yellowish spots for eyes. Score: Paint 13, Pose 20, Playability 17, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 69.
While the basilisk comes from Greek mythology, the cockatrice is rooted in medieval lore. About the size of a goose, it somewhat resembles a chicken if you ignore the bat wings and lizard tail. And if you're wondering why I mentioned basilisks, it's because this guy can turn you to stone too, albeit with a bite rather than a glance. Fiercely territorial, a cockatrice will attack immediately any perceived threat to its lair or flock. Here's a question for the ages. Do cockatrices taste like chicken?
Our first and only WOTC cockatrice comes from the Against the Giants set from 2008. And perhaps it being from a set with the name Giants in it, but the mini is definitely oversized for what it is. I mean, it's bigger than most Wormling minis. The large size does allow for better detailing in the sculpt, although wings look more chicken than bat. Pose as if on the attack, leaning forward and beak open, ready to deliver the bite that will turn its foe to stone. Score: Paint 14, Pose 13, Playability 10, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 51. WizKids' only cockatrice mini comes in 2015's Rage of Demons set. Properly sized and on a clear stand to pose at mid-flight, or perhaps jump, as they are clumsy flyers. The talons are outstretched and the beak is agape. Wings and tails are creature appropriate, with a red rooster crown standing out proudly against the gray of the body. The WOTC one is perhaps better looking, but this creature correct one is the one I'm playing. Score: Paint 12, Pose 19, playability 17, pizzazz 14 for a score of 62.
Do you know what else the natives call a crag cat? Hunters of man. Do I really need to go on? Resembling a cross between a lion and a lynx, crag cats are found in all but forest environments, particularly at home in mountainous, cold climes. Deadly efficient hunters, they are extraordinarily resistant to magic, to the point where spells sometimes reflect off them and back upon the caster.
Our only Crag Cat mini comes from, sensibly enough, 2020's Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden set. WizKids uses a slightly curved clear stand to pose the Crag Cat in mid-leap, forelegs extended with black claws visible, while the mouth displays a full set of fangs against the red of its maw. Other than that, light gray is the choice of color. The fur of the body is nicely done and stands out even without the addition of dark wash. Cool detail, note the foot pads at on the back legs. Score: Paint 14, Pose 22, Playability 13, Pizzazz 20 for a score of 69.
And that brings us to the end of another Monstrosity video. Thanks as always for watching Eye of the Beholder. Comments are always appreciated. Next week, we'll pick things back up alphabetically, starting with Darkened Beasts. Until next time, adieu.